In other words, what happened over here was that we, just to back up for a second, we thought that Rava was asking on Rabbah a kasha from a Tanaic source, and we were attempting to look at the Tanaic source that says that Eish Shalo B'Kavanah, when there's Eidim, does not pay Damim, because we would say that according to Rabbah he should pay Damim, and we couldn't find any Tanaic source that contradicted what we thought Rabbah would say. And now the Gemora said that no, Rava wasn't asking him that that's what he says, Rabbah, that there is a payment of Damim, and that the Brisa says no. But he was just asking him, what does he, Rabbah, say in this case? El Rava, the Gufe Iboya Miboyale. Rava himself was only asking Rabbah what is his opinion in the case of Eish. We hear what you say in the case of Shor, that there'll be a payment of Damim when the Shor kills Shelo B'Kavanah, and there's Eidim, there'll be a payment of Damim. So what about the, so that, in other words, that case where there's no payment of Kofer, you don't get the big payment, Kofer or the Shloshim Shel Levitt, will there be a payment of Damim? So Rav says, yes, there will be.
This is all talking about when a person is killed by fire, and not like an animal or something else, or damage to property.
Talking about Eish.
We'd have to pay Nezek on that, wouldn't he?
Eish Shelo B'Kavanah.
We have to pay Damim. I hear it's talking about a person that's being killed. What if it's a property that's being burnt up by the fire? Yeah, we'd have to pay damages on that, wouldn't he?
Right.
If it's fire, you started a fire and it got out of hand, he didn't do it intentionally, without covering up, and it burned down his house, let's say.
Right.
So he has to pay damages on that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Damages is, but and if he dies?
Now, there's another question. If the person dies from his fire, they lit unintentionally, does he have to pay damages to the person's heirs? Right.
But you just change the name. You have Kofer and you have Damim.
Right.
So you said if he kills somebody, it's Kofer kilo, but maybe it's Damim. They changed the word back from Kofer to Damim now.
So what we're talking about here is
Kofer is an intentional case. Kofer is always in an intentional case. We don't have a case where there won't be a. We don't have a case where it was done Shelo B'Kavanah and there's a payment of Kofer, right? No. Right. In other words, Kofer is the Kavanah case, but the person himself didn't do it. Because otherwise, if he did it and it was B'Kavanah, that's then he's a Rotzeach.
That's something else.
That's something else.
Right.
So we're making this comparison in the case of Shor, when the person's Shor kills B'Kavanah, there was a payment of Damim over there. There's a payment of Damim. Why would there be no payment of? Okay, let's not get into it. Okay. According to that's what Rava was asking. According to you, Rava, that in a case of Shor, there's going to be Chiyuv Damim when the Shor does Shelo B'Kavanah, actually. That's what was bothering me. If the Shor does B'Kavanah and kills, there's a payment of Kofer, or Shloshim Shel Levitt. That's the B'Kavanah case. So we're talking about a Shelo B'Kavanah case of a Shor, and so now we're transferring that. What about the din of Eish, Shelo B'Kavanah?
That's the whole of the law.
The case is Shelo B'Kavanah of Eish. So there's no payment of Kofer or Shloshim, but maybe there should be a payment of Damim, just like there is by Shor.
If his fire got out of hand and it made a fire and it damaged somebody's property, why would I think that he doesn't have to pay damages?
Well, that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
We're talking about Lo B'Kavanah, right?
Yeah, look, covenant.
Yeah, what's the difference?
He lit a fire and got out of hand.
Doesn't make a difference.
He didn't have any covenant to burn his friend's property.
Okay, this is a good question. We didn't think of this question.
is fire considered like his mammon? If he's lit a fire and his mammon damaged, like a shore, like a person's shore, his mammon is his shore, and it killed intentionally, has to pay damages over there. So the fire is like that, like it's
Wait a
property.
second. It's not a good question. I'll tell you
Okay.
what. We're not talking about the property damage that he does with his fire. That for sure, there's damages for.
Right, right.
Question is when when a person dies,
That's what's talking about.
is there dumming when a person dies?
Right, right. It's a different question.
There's no payment of kofir because it wasn't b'kavanah. But it's still b'kavanah. But will it be payment of dumming? That's what we want to know. Payment of dumming for the wrongful death through fire.
I would think he shouldn't pay. If he pays for property, he certainly should pay for a person who's died. That person is worth more than property. It's invaluable. It's a person's life. Like he should pay for damages to his family.
Okay. We don't have any place in the Torah which says that there's going to be a payment of dumming when a person dies. There's no pasuk that says this. We have a pasuk that when there's property damage, so then there's payment to compensate the property. A person is not property.
It's
And
more
put a
valuable.
price-
It's more valuable, no?
You can't put a price tag on it.
Right, right.
There's no we can't say, oh well, if property there's payment of damages for. There certainly should be payment of damages when a person dies.
Yes,
It's not comparable.
Not comparable.
It's a different category. There's no kal v'chomer.
Okay.
A person's just not $20,000. You can't go and if you want to go to the shuk and buy an evid, so it's $20,000. No. If the person's shore kills an evid, so it's 30 shekel. Shkolim.
And
That's
if
the
you could,
knas.
and if you kill the brain doctor, something like that, right? So
Doesn't
it's
make a
also,
difference.
you know how much is worth. Why? There's an amount of money you can make it's worth. So maybe it's like that.
For his relatives, for his mishpacha, he's worthless.
No,
He's priceless, rather. He's priceless.
So that's or you could say that an evid also is priceless. And an evid that he has to hold my whole supermarket. He does everything. That's also
okay. That's something else. Where the Torah says that for an evid you pay 30,
that's all.
that's it. The Torah is giving me a fixed. It's saying this is what you pay. That payment is not based upon the value of the evid. Shloshim. If he's an evid, it doesn't matter how valuable he is. True, an evid has a price tag in the shuk. True, because you can buy and sell an evid. You can't buy and sell a ben chorin. You can't buy and sell a ben chorin. He has no price tag. But an evid you could. But here the Torah did speak, and it said shloshim shkolim shel evid. So it doesn't matter how much he would be worth in the shuk. It doesn't matter what his value is. Okay, that is if there's a payment of shloshim shel evid if it was b'kavanah. If it's shelo b'kavanah, so what did we say? The shore kills the evid shelo b'kavanah. According to Rabbah, there will be a payment of damim. So that damim, now that will correspond to his value. That will correspond to the value of the evid. It will depend on what type of an evid he was. What would he be sold for? But now we're saying,
That's just the problem.
now how did Rabbah know that there's a payment of damim over here? Did we say where does Rabbah know this from? I don't remember. But in any case, that's what Rabbah does hold. That's what Rabbah's view is.
Look at Dani. That's not been done any place, right?
That's in regard to the case of Aish.
Oh, that's
We
actually.
didn't learn that. Well, we didn't we didn't learn that Aish is more chomer than bor. The Brisa didn't say that the case of Aish is more chomer than bor because for Aish there is payment and for bor there's no payment. But that doesn't, yeah. We said ton of a shire. The fact that the Brisa didn't mention it doesn't mean that it's not so. Maybe there is a payment for it. So that's exactly what we're asking. That's exactly what Rav is asking Rabbi over here. Just like you say that there's a payment of dumim when a shore, which is your property, does damage, shelo b'kavanah, not damage, but kills an eved, so there won't be a payment of dumim. There won't be a payment of shloshim shel eved, the fixed amount. There will be payment of dumim. What do you say if his eish does the same thing? You also say the same thing? Now we said before that what Rabbi was saying was, yeah, according to Rabbi, you hold that there will be a payment of eish. It seems as though that's the way the Gemora originally understood. That yeah, right. If for whatever reason he says that there's a payment of dumming for sure, then why should his eish be any different?
Yeah, fine.
The eish would be also dumming, and the Gemara thought that Rabbi was asking saying that to Rabbi because he has a brisa that says not like that. That there is no payment of dumming in that case. In the case of eish. But we couldn't find a brisa that said without any way to get out of it that there is no payment in fact. Both of these brises, we said no, we could possibly squeeze out. We could say, yeah, no, Bashar, we didn't mention that din. There actually is a payment of eish, right? So now we're coming to the conclusion that Rav is saying, do you hold the same way in the case of eish? That there will be a payment of damim in that case. Will there be a payment of damim for the wrongful death of the eved or not? And then, okay, so that gives us a little background, and then the Gemora now is fleshing out what we call it stadei hasafik. When Rava asks Rabba a question, that means he has two ways of looking at it. He could look at it like this, which says that there will be a payment of damim, and he could look at it like that, which would come out that there won't be a payment of damim. And he cannot be machriya. He can't decide which of those two ways of looking at it is really the correct way. That's the question that the Gemora is dealing over here. Me, I'm reading. The Gemora is saying what are the two possible ways that there are to look at this question.
Why are you comparing it to a shore? Is Esh and shore synonymous? Is it the same thing?
Because the limud is coming from the shore.
Oh.
We're not asking this question as a blind question.
Right.
A blind question would be: do you say, Rabbi, that there's a payment of damim for eish, a person's eish shelo b'kavanah?
Right.
No, that's not the question.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, Rabbi, in view of the fact that you yourself hold, not everybody holds this way, that you yourself hold that in the case of shore there will be the payment of damim, right? We saw others that held that there's no payment of damim in this case. Remember, I think the daf before we had who was it that was asking on Rabba? That they held that there would be no payment of damim in this case.
Yes, Shmuel Bar Yitzchak. Mistake. Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, yes.
This was Abaye. Abaye asked on Rabba. Just on the Mem Gimel Amid Aleph. Abaye holds there's no payment of damim in this case. And that's what Rabba answered him. Rabba answered him. He asked the kasha on him from a Bryce, and Rabba answered him. Okay, so that's Rabba's view. There's a payment of damim over here. So now Rabba's asking him, will also be a payment according to you, Rabba? Just like you hold that there's a payment of shore, you'll also say there's a payment of damim in the case of Aish? And the question will be, if you can say that Aish is similar to shore, why not? Just like you hold by shore, so too you hold by Aish. But if you could find some distinction between Aish and shore, in regard to the dinim, they'll say, oh, well, not necessarily. Just because there's a din of damim by shore, it doesn't mean there'll be a din of damim by Aish.
He wants to say that the shore is like the Aish is like the property, like the shore is the property of the owner?
Let's see what the...
We saw that in Rashi,
Let's see what the two sides of the suffix are. Let's see what the two sides of the suffix are again. Me, I'm reading. Who wants to read? Remember, it was not so simple here. This was not such a simple point. Me, I'm reading. Where's the me, I'm reading? The teku is at the end of the two dots. So it's a few lines up from there. First word of the line is shalom. It's about 20 or so lines down.
Middle of the white lines.
From the, Shalom b'kavanah mi mishalem damim malo. That's the question that Rav was asking him. And the Gemora explains what the two sides of the suffix are. Mi amrin, and do we say? Okay, want to read Yechiel?
זה מסובך. מי אמרינם, גבי שוער והוא בכוונה משלם כופר. שלא בכוונה משלם דמים. אבל אישו בכוונה לא משלם כופר. שלא בכוונה נמי.
Okay. Gemora says, if we were to compare these two, let's take a look at this first side. This first side says, if we were to compare the two, so we would say like this: Gabe shore, which Rabbi holds the din is that it does pay damim. So why does it pay damim? That is because of the following. Look, Abishorhu. That's where they pay damim. Debe kavana mishalim kofer, because in the case of the shore killing the kavana, the person, there will be a payment of kofer. Oh, so since there's a payment of kofer in the case where it's b'kavana, so shelo b'kavana, where there won't be any payment of kofer, so there'll be a payment instead of the kofer of damim, mishalim damim. So it seems like the two are linked.
Yesh kofer, yesh damim.
Since you have kofer b'kavana, you have damim in the case of shelo b'kavana. That's how we understand why Rabbah holds that in the case of shore, there'll be a payment of damim when the shore kills shelo b'kavana. Oh, if that's the reason, then if we compare it to Aish, it's not the same thing. How about Ishoy? If the case of Aish, the b'kavanah, he did the Aish b'kavanah, so now it's a whole different story now. His Aish b'kavanah is him himself. It's not like his shore that kills b'kavanah. He himself is using the Eish to kill. That's called the case. He did it himself. So now it's not possible to give a payment of kofir in that case. Lo b'shalom kofir. Because he's going to be judged with a more stringent din. But at the end of the day, there's no payment of kofir. So it's not a case of kofir. So if the case of Eish, the Kavanah, is not a case of kofir, so we cannot learn out from shore, it's not a similar thing. So therefore, Shelo b'Kavanah, in the case where he doesn't kill, when he kills rather, without Kavanah, Nami also, Lo Mishalim Damim, he won't pay Damim. He won't pay Damim.
יש כוונה, יש דמים. אין כופר, no. יש כופר, יש דמים. אין כופר, אין דמים. That's what I see.
Well, what do you have instead?
In other words, the payment of damim is linked to the payment of kofir.
Yeah.
It's like a bimkom kofir payment. And in the case of but Eish, we don't find that the kofir is being paid over there in case of kofir. We don't have a case of Eish which pays kofir. So if we don't have a case of Eish which pays kofir, so we don't have any source from shore that you should pay damim in the case of Eish. Right. There's no comparison. And that was the whole basis of our question. Is it comparable to
Shore and the Esh.
to shore? Comparable to shore. Okay, so according to this first way of looking at it, then we would come out that no, we can't learn from shore at any rate that there would be a payment of damim. We cannot learn from shore that there would be a payment of damim. Says the Gemora, O Dilma. Let's see the next. Let's read the next part.
או דילמה, כיוון שלגבי שורו שלא בכוונה, אף על גב דלקה, כופר משלם דמים. כבי שור נמי, אף על גב בכוונה, לא משלם כופר.
כבי אישוי נמי. אף על גב בכוונה לא משלם כופר, שלא בכוונה. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so now on this side is the side that says that we should learn from shore, that there is a payment of damim by ish. So, O Dilma, Kaven the Gabi Shoro, Shelo b'Kavanah. So if we look at the case of Shor Shelo b'Kavanah, so what do we see? Afugav, the Leka Kofir, even though in that case itself there is no payment of Kofir, so Mishalim Damim, nevertheless it pays Damim. So now it seems like we're just focusing on the case of Shelo b'Kavanah itself. That the damim payment is being made even though there's no payment of kofir in that case. In other words, okay. So we see that you could pay damim even though in that din itself it's not a case of kofir case. It's not a bar kofir case. It's not a kofir case. So if so, then Gabi Ishoy Nami, in regard to his Eish, also, Afogav de Bekavana lo Mishalam Kofir, even though there's no payment of Kofir, in the case of Bekavana, Shelo Bekavana, in the case of that he does it Shelo Bekavana, Mihas, however, Mishalim Damim, he will pay Damim.
This is how Rabbi learns?
This is the Gemora's fleshing out of how Rabba would learn. Yeah, Rabba didn't say it.
No.
The Gemora is saying this. Niamrina, do we say the following thing? And we have, like we said, we have two ways of looking at it, and we can't decide. This second side is coming out that there is a comparison to be made between Shor and Eish. Because just like Shor does not have a payment of Kofir in the case of Shelo B'Kavanah, nevertheless that doesn't stop us from saying that there's a payment of Damim. That is what Rabbah holds himself. So too, we could say the same thing in the case of Eish. Even though there's no payment of Kofir, even in the case of the Kavanah, there's no payment of Kofir. Lomi boy, we don't need to say that only that there's no payment of Kofir in the lesser case of he didn't intend that his fire should kill anyone. No payment of Kofir. But even in the most stringent case, that he intended to kill, he lit the fire on the Eved. That's the case of the Kavanah. Even there's no payment of Kofir.
But it's Zavisa. He gets a
The fact that there is Misa is not part of the discussion, because here the limit is coming from the relationship between Kofir and Damim. Because in a case of Shor, there's no Misa. It's just a question whether there's Kofir, because it's his property who's killing. So we're just focusing on whether there's a Kofir payment to be made. So we see, at least in the case of Shelo B'Kavanah of the Shor, that there won't be a payment of Kofir, and nevertheless there will be a payment of Damim. So in other words, we see that they're less related, so to speak. It's not so much in the place of, because at least in the case of Shelo B'Kavanah, where there's no payment of Kofir, there will be a payment of Damim. So it's not replacing the payment of Kofir. There's no Kofir payment to be made over there in that case. Nevertheless, there's a payment of Damim. So too, in the case of Eish, which has no Kofir at all, not even in the case where it's done B'Kavanah. And surely there's no payment of Kofir in the case when it's not B'Kavanah. Is that true?
Sure.
Shelo B'Kavanah, there can't be a payment of Kofir, because Kofir implies a Kavanah. You need the kapara of Kofir when it comes derech Kavanah.
Intentionally.
Yeah. So this that the Gemora here is talking about the case of Kavanah is because the only way to pay Kofir is the Kavanah. So in that case, so that's why the Gemora didn't say the case of Shelo B'Kavanah doesn't pay Kofir. Obviously, that's ridiculous. You don't pay Kofir Shelo B'Kavanah. But in the case of B'Kavanah, where there would be a svara to say he should pay Kofir, no, there's no payment of Kofir. So you say, yeah, but he's got the more serious penalty to pay up in that case. Okay, that's true. But nevertheless, that payment, that din misa cannot be compared to the case of Shor. we're looking for a way to compare to the case of shore. Looking for a way to compare to the case of shore. So it's enough for us to say there is no payment of kofar. You don't see any connection between kofar and damim. So even though you don't see kofar over here in the case of eish, that doesn't stop us from saying that there's going to be a payment of damim in the case of shelo b'kavanah. We know there's not going to be a pace. We know that there's not going to be a payment of damim in the case of b'kavanah with eish, because he's chayiv misa. Just like he won't be. There's no payment of kofar. There won't be a payment of damim either in that case because he's chayiv misa. But we want to see, is there a payment of damim in the case of shelo b'kavanah? In spite of the fact that the payment of there's no payment of kofar. So in that sense, we see, that shore also has an aspect of it that even though there's no payment of kofar, that doesn't stop us from saying there's a payment of damim. So too over here, in this case of eish, we'll say the same thing. Even though there's no kofar payment at all, but nevertheless there'll be a payment of damim. And then the Gemora says, these words lo yadinin, were taken out by the Oz V'Hadar. Those words were taken out, and we just left with teku. Teku means that the Gemora themselves, they also cannot be machriya. They also cannot decide this case. They cannot decide which side of this issue is the correct side, and so we'll wait for Tishbi.
Understand?
Tishbi Yataris.
If a person lights a fire and it gets out of hand, shouldn't he be responsible for that? He didn't directly want to damage somebody's property, but he did light the fire.
Again, we're not talking about somebody's property. We're talking about a human being that he killed.
Yeah.
When his
Property he would pay.
He would pay property damage, sure.
Right.
But a person is not categorized as property damage. So the fact that the Torah says pay for property damage doesn't give us any basis for saying that he'll pay for killing a person. Killing a person has its own rules. He did it b'kavanah. Oh, the Torah says chayiv misa. He did it shelo b'kavanah.
Don't have an answer.
This is what we're discussing right now. Is there a payment or is there's not a payment? Because we don't have a pasuk that says specifically. You're asking, but surely it should be that there's a payment. But Chazal
what about kapara?
Understood. What?
He doesn't need kapara on that?
Okay, that's another thing. The fact that he's not chayv to pay kofar, does that mean he doesn't need a kapara?
That we learned that beforehand.
Somebody who's a horig b'shogeg, which is karav lemezi.
Right.
He doesn't go to the ir mikla. Why? Because he doesn't need a kapara?
He does, but it's so serious.
The kapara is not good enough.
It's
not enough.
Not enough.
The one that goes to the ir mikla is because
Shogeg.
that he's a shogeg.
Totally,
and that will that the Torah says will be his kapara.
Right.
But to send him there if it won't be his kapara, the Torah says no, we don't do that. So how will he achieve his kapara? He's got.
If he lit a fire, got out of hand, and it killed somebody. So what do you do with that? How does he?
He won't pay kofar. There's no payment of kofar.
There's no kofar.
There's no kofar payment because it's shelo b'kavanah. And damim, we don't know what the answer is. Is there any payment of damim? The Gemora says teku.
Interesting, the Gemara couldn't come up with an answer.
See, because in other words, the point is, in other words, you're coming out and you're saying, well, so he did that, and he doesn't have to. He's got no. He can't do anything to him. Is he scot free? So we have to hear one point over here. There's two types of mishpat in this world. There's the mishpat of the Bezdin Shel Mata, through the Bezdin that Hashem authorizes in the Torah of human beings to administer. Right? Human beings have the authority to administer mishpat on one another according to what the Torah says. What about mishpat that the Torah doesn't say anything about that? Do we, the Beis Din Shalmata, we have an obligation to say, well, we think this is what should happen? Yeah. Do we have that? We have that ability to judge and punish people like that? Yeah. No. So what will happen? Hashem is the judge. He's the judge in the Beis Din Shel Ma'ala. Will the person go scot-free without any judgment? No, Hashem is the judge. So what was going to happen to him? Hashem will,
His ways.
has his ways. He has his way in this world, he has his way in the next world. He's got all sorts of ways. Right? Right? The Gemora even, the Rashi even brings it in the parsha of the Horig B'Shogeg. He's Horig B'Shogeg. He kills somebody unintentionally, and there's no witnesses, so he doesn't go to an Ir Miklat. So Hashem can make a situation. Well, he needs what's going to happen to him. The same thing will happen to him. Hashem has all sorts of ways of doing the mishpat when the, so to speak, the Beis Din's hands are tied down here because there's no authorization in the Torah to do anything. Hashem is saying, in that case, you guys down here, leave it to me. This one's on me. This is my responsibility.
There's no din in Lamata, there's din b'shamayim, I guess.
Yeah, this is the point.
Yeah, but this is what you're talking about.
So that's Hashem's way of administering justice. A certain amount of the justice that is to be done, Hashem gives the mandate to the Beis Din Shel Mata to administer. And but the Beis Din Shel Mata can't administer judgment unless it's authorized in the Torah. That's the idea, because what's the idea? Hashem is really the ultimate judge. So if he didn't mandate that we in the Torah do this or that, so he's saying, I'm going to take care of this one. So that's our emunah. Okay.
Says Lo Mishlem Danim, but maybe you'll get some kind of onish from the Shemayim in that case, in the first case.
Hashem has all, there's all sorts of cheshbonis in Shemayim that we have no idea of. Okay.
Yeah, but essentially there is an answer to this. We just don't know it. In the Shemayim they do know it. Is that correct?
We don't know we don't know whether the din is like this or like that, right?
But in the Shemayim they do know the answer.
Hashem certainly knows the answer. He can't say he doesn't know the answer. And if Hashem knows the answer, then it's known, right? Tishbi Yataris. That means that Eliyahu Navi also knows the answer. He's going to tell us.
That's the one that's Simanim, right? We know that he knows, that's him, because he's going to know all his answers.
Yeah.
That's not
He's
him.
going to know. He won't be...
That means he has to be a Talmid Chacham.
Eliyahu Navi?
He says.
If I die. How do you think he got to be Eliyahu Navi?
Maybe it was
Being an
like
Amaretz?
Moshe Rabbeinu was Amcha. Moshe Rabbeinu.
That's your story.
Moshe Rabbeinu was Amcha, wasn't Ish Pashut, לא היה משהו. He didn't learn in the yeshiva like Abu Mitzvah Yaakov.
Could have been that he.
Learned in
Could have
yeshiva.
been.
They were only yeshiva boys.
He learned in the yeshiva Shalmala.
Yeah, no.
He learned Kol HaTorah Kula.
No.
There wasn't one thing that he didn't learn.
Abu Mitzvah, they learned the Shem Ever, right? They learned the yeshiva.
It's not that Eliyahu Navi learned it out and he'll give the answer, but he heard it from the Shemayim what the din was. It doesn't have to be that he knows. He worked it out by himself.
So
He could have heard it. The answer from the Shemayim.
Yeah.
There is no answer. Hashem decides what he decided. He heard. They didn't know through Lamdis and things
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what I'm saying. I don't know. He has to be
Okay. Okay, maybe.
when he comes, we'll ask him.
You can say Hashem says this way.
Yeah. That's what I have to
Or maybe
Let's say it's
because it's the Tam Chacham, it will give up like a pill pull, you know, it'll give like an edit, derive it.
That's why I said that.
Derive it.
He has to be a Talmud Chochem or
For that,
just he can
He
everything
can-
Ruach HaKodesh.
We don't
that's
know
all.
how he's going to give the answer, by Lamdis, by Pilpul,
Yeah.
or just that he heard it and he's
And
just
that's all.
saying what he heard.
Yeah, fair.
Well, we know that there's many instances in the Gemora where Eliyahu and Navi had conversations in Torah, give and take of Torah with the various Tanoim and Amoraim. And if it would be that Eliyahu and Navi didn't, he just, his whole thing is that, well, he heard this is what Hashem says, then the Gemora, the Tana would say, yeah, but what about this? And he would say, oh, I don't know. I have to ask Hashem. I don't know what to answer you. But in the Gemara, it doesn't say that. He always had there was
answer, but
he knew how to answer and defend the answer. It sounds like he was. It's not simply. It's not simply that he. That he's just a messenger who comes and says that this is what it is. Okay. If you take a look, just for example, in the Rambam, and the Rambam discusses about the transmission of Torah throughout the Doros. He says, what was the first link of transmission from Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu? Hashem has the Torah, he gives it over to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the first link in the transmission of Torah. And then it says, Moshe Rabbeinu gave it over to, like it says in Avos, Yeshua Zakenim, Lanshi Knesset Gedola. The Rambam, he goes over there, many different generations, and a number of those generations are Nevi'im. They're the link in the transmission of Torah. Not simply the fact that they were Nevi'im,
Right.
and Hashem spoke to them.
Right.
The Nevi'im, in order to be Nevi'im, were great scholars in Torah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be Nevi'im.
This is one of the requirements that the Rambam says. In order to be a Navi, he not only has to be a tzaddik, he has to be a chacham. So they were their generation's link in the transmission of the Torah of Hashem.
And they say that Chacham is a different Navi. They also say that. Support that.
Yeah. There's certain. Okay. All right. Doesn't. Nevertheless. Yeah. In any case, okay. So that's that's how the Gemara leaves it. The Gemara leaves it like that, and now we'll see what we're going to go on to now. I think we'll see. Okay. Yosef Rav Dimi, Amr Rabbi Yochanan. Roy, you want to read? You didn't read the last time that I was here. So let's see. Got the place, Roy. What's it mean that when Reb Dimi came? What is this? Why does it just say Amar Reb Dimi, Amar Reb Yochanan? What's this? Ki Asa Reb Dimi. What's the point of this? You hear the question? Whenever we see this expression, we see it by Reb Dimi, we see it by some of the other Amoraim who were Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan. What it means is, what does the words mean literally? Ki osa, when he came. When he came. What do you mean when he came? Where was he coming from that he came? So, what it means is that Reb Dimi, when he came from Eretz Yisrael, and we came from Eretz Yisrael,
It was a Talmid
to
of Rabbi
Bava.
Yochanan? It was a Talmid of Rabbi Yochanan?
he was a Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan.
And he went to Bavel?
And so there were some Talmidim that they learned by Rabbi Yochanan, and then they came back to Bava. And they're telling us the Torah of Rabbi Yochanan. And it wasn't just a one-time thing, which is implied in the words Ki Asa Reb Dimi, when he came back. I don't know how many times. Maybe somebody has gotten. Maybe one of the commentators discusses this. How many times that they can prove he holds. How many times did Reb Dimi go back and forth between Bava and Eretz Yisrael in order to learn from Rabbi Yochanan? But you have, also says Ki Asa Reuven, also one of the Amoraim who came and he learned.
They were originally from Bavel. They were sent to Eretz Yisrael to learn from him and to bring back the message back to Bavel, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that I'm saying that they even it's not just a one-time thing. I think they did it more than once in their own lifetime. That's what I would. That's how I understand it. Because Rabbi Yochanan was he was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, sage of the generation. So they went to, even though their residence was in Bavel, they went to learn by Rabbi Yochanan. I don't know how many days, months, years that he would leave to go and learn by Rabbi Yochanan. But in any case, that's what it means. So you see the extent that some of these Amoraim went to in order to learn Torah. To leave their home and their house and their city, and can't say go into Golus, but they went there to Israel, but a certain type of all for the sake of Torah. He was the yeah. Okay, so let's see. What's he got to say from Rabbi Yochanan? Kofer.
Kofer. Ma Talmud Lama in Kofer. Why does the scripture say when?
Now we have to.
Shall be assessed.
Yeah. Now we have to take a look at the pasuk over here. Have to take a look at the pasuk. If you have a Torah or a Shalem, this is the first pasuk that appears of the three psukim that they bring.
The Aleph.
The Aleph. Yeah. This is the pasuk that mandates the payment of kofer. This is the source for the payment of kofar. The pasuk says, "Im kofar yushas olav." If the kofar payment is yushas olav, yushas is appraised or evaluated, olav on him, the nosan pidyon nafsho, and he will give the redemption of his soul.
So it's trying to say im is extra. It comes to mean something specific.
K'chol asher yushas olav, according to all that has been evaluated on him. What's the question?
The im is like a word that didn't have to be written. You could have written without im.
Right.
So im comes to mean something.
Exactly. That's the point of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, why couldn't this pasuk simply say, kofar yushas olav? Kofar payment will be evaluated, and he will give. By the way, we see what kofar is. The pasuk calls it pidyon nafsho. It's the redemption of his soul to pay this kofar.
Atonement, kol kupra kapra.
So, what's the word im there doing? If. Okay, so that word is extra, so what do we learn from this extra word? The rabbos, let's see the rest of the statement of Rabbi Yochanan.
The rabbis kofar shelo bekivana
Oh,
kapara bekofar bekavana. The
right?
extra word comes from the obligation of kofar from the unintentional killing. Like there is an obligation of kofar from intentional killing.
The rabbos to include, what's the extra word im coming to tell me? The rabbos to include a payment of kofar shelo b'kavana. Ki kofar b'kavana. To include that there is going to not only be a payment of kofar when the misa happened b'kavana, but even when it happened shelo b'kavana. What's Rashi say about this? The rabbos kofar shelo b'kavana. I want to read this, Rachman?
Yeah. Rabot kofar shelo b'kavana.
Everybody see the
That's
place?
the Rashi.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down from the very bottom of Rashi. 6 lines up from the bottom. And it's the last words in the line.
Rabot kofar shelo b'kavana. That's what's coming to tell us im kofar. What the word im is meaning here. It's coming to the boat kofar below kavana. The Rashi says afal gav the ain't shor b'skila. How can that be? We learned that it's skila in kofar.
Oh, who said that?
Who said that? I don't remember who said that.
Rabbi said it.
Rabbi, yeah?
That's what Rabbi said.
Okay.
Continues Rashi.
Okay. Afgav the ain't shor b'skila. Well, fliga the Rabba. And it's refuting Rabba. What Rabba said.
Not a refutation of Rabbi. What is it?
An argument.
He disagrees with Rabbi.
Disagrees with
Fliga, Polig. He differs with Rabbi. Rabbi said, where was the drasha of Rabbi?
On this page?
Rabbi said on Mem Gimel Amid Aleph. Now, actually, it wasn't Rabba who said it, but it seems as though Rabba holds this way also. At least where I'm looking at, it's not Rabba who said it. If you go to Mem Gimel Amid Aleph, and you go to the where is it over here? Pligi the Rabba. Amr of Shimon ben Lakish. Is that the case? No, yeah, well. No, yeah, not Shimon ben Lakish. What Rabbi said?
Gemora,
What Rabbi said?
Shoshei
Rabbi.
meat.
Shor shehemis ben chorin.
Ben chorin shlo b'kavana, batur mikofer.
Everybody got that place?
Gemora, shoshei meat ben chorin shlo b'kavana.
This is about 20 lines down from the top. The first word in the line is mishalmim. Mishalmim shloshim shkolim. And then it says Omer Rabba. Rabba says Shor shehemis ben chorin shelo b'kavana. Yeah, you could read.
אמר רבא שוש העמיד בן חורין שלא בכוונה, בטור מכופר. שנאמר, השור יסתכל ובעליו יומת. אם כופר יושת עליו כל זמן ששור בסקילה, בעלים משלמים כופר. אין שור בסקילה, אין בעלים משלמים כופר. And here we just learned that without covenant, you also have to pay kofir. How can it be?
Right. So how can it be?
He's learning that with in kofir. If he, even without covenant, he pays kofir.
Right.
That's against somebody here.
Who's it against?
It says Rabbah.
It's against Rabbah.
Now
That's what Rashi says.
How can Rabbah dispute with Rabbi Yochanan?
How can Rabbah dispute with Rabbi Yochanan?
They were
Why
at
not?
the same time. At the same
Why
time.
not? Rabbi Yochanan is an Amora. True, he's one of the first generations of the Amoraim. Could be he's the first generation of the Amoraim. But he doesn't have the status of a Tana. And Rabbah, who I don't know what generation he is in the Amoraim, but he is an Amora also. So it's one Amora against another Amora. So it's not it's not a tiyufta over here, because we don't have Amora against Tana. We have Amora against Amora. So that's what Rashi says. Pliga ad Rabbah. He differs with Rabbah. He can disagree with Rabbah.
Rabbi Yochanan can disagree with Rabbah?
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Okay.
And implication also is that Rabbah can disagree with Rabbi Yochanan.
But they brought a pasuk to learn it out.
Yeah, right.
And does Rabbi Yochanan have also a pasuk?
So the question will be now, what does Rabbah do with this pasuk that Rabbi Yochanan says that you learn that there is no payment of, that there rather is a payment of kofir. There is a payment of kofir. Right? We have two psukim. Rabbah has his pasuk. Which pasuk is Rabbah dealing with? He's dealing with the pasuk that says, Rabbah's dealing with the pasuk that says, Hashor yisakel v'gam balav yumas im kofer yushas alov. So we see over here a hekish between the payment of kofer and the misa of the shore.
Right.
Because the subject of that pasuk is shor yisakel. The shore is going to get skila, v'gam balav yumas.
And what does Rabbi Yochanan do with this?
So the question will be, how does Rabbi Yochanan learn that pasuk? That's one question. How would Rabbi Yochanan learn from this pasuk that Rabbi learned from? That there is no payment of kofir in this case. And we also have another question. What's the other question? The other question we have is, what will Rabbi do with Rabbi Yochanan's pasuk?
Im kofir?
Yeah. Rabbi Yochanan took the pasuk of Im Kofir. I think it's actually the same pasuk that they're darshaning. Right? In Kofir Yushas, no, it's not the same pasuk. It's not exactly the same pasuk. Where's the pasuk that Rabbi darshans? Hasho Yisakel v'gam balav yumas. That's a pasuk.
Shemot Kaf Aleph.
Shemot Kaf Aleph.
And what is this one here? Shemot
That
Kaf
is
Aleph. The same pasuk.
the same parak.
Same parak, yeah.
In other words, it's probably the same parsha. It's the same parsha over there.
I think it's Ve'ela Mishpatim.
Pasuk of Aleph Lamed, and this is it's you know what? One pasuk is pasuk Chav Tes, and the other pasuk is pasuk Lamed.
The next pasuk?
Yeah. So Rabbah is learning from the pasuk that says it's the end of the pasuk Lamed. It's the end of pasuk Chav Tes.
Right.
It says Asho Yisakel v'gam balav yumas.
Right.
And then it says in Kofar Yushas Alav, which really is the beginning of the second pasuk, the pasuk Lamed. So he goes from one pasuk to the other pasuk to make a connection that you can't have kofar unless you have the misa of the shore. And Reb Yochanan doesn't learn that way. He doesn't go back to that first pasuk.
Right.
That pasuk ends. That's the end of that pasuk, and now we start with this pasuk of Im Kofar.
Right.
So we have to know. Bye, Roy.
Thank you. See you, Roy. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
We have to know how it is that Rabbi will. What will he say about what Rabbi Yochanan says in this second pasuk?
And what Rabbi Yochanan says, what does he say with Rabbi's pasuk?
Yeah.
Both ways it goes?
Yes, both way it goes, right? Both of them have to explain both psukim, right? They both have to explain both psukim. So it'll be a question on each one of them. How do they learn the other one's pasuk?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.